on.
All right, it's Wednesday already. Hey, thank you everybody for tuning in. Today's a really cool episode. We've got Paul with Ironworkers 63 live with us today to talk about some of the myths, some of the benefits, and just some information you need to know about the Ironworkers unions and basically unions in our industry. So Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate your time, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So I met you last year. I don't know if I met you the year before, but I feel like we did. But last year at the Fence Show, you guys come every year, and that's really cool. I had a lot of good feedback about you guys being there. A lot of people were really interested in the unions and in the fence industry. So you probably go back in your industry a little bit further than last year's Fence Show, though.
Yeah, a couple of years, unfortunately. They no longer call me kid, Brian. I started way back in 1986 as an ironworker. Right out of high school. So that was much to my dad's chagrin, who was an ironworker. He wanted me to go to college, but as I told him, as I was smart enough, but I did not want to sit in the classroom all day. So this might be a little better avenue for me.
Yeah. So the 80s. So I mean, it was a whole different beast back then. I mean, I remember.
100%. 100%. Yeah. When I started, there was ropes and belts. There was no safety harnesses and all that other good stuff. So I go back a little bit.
There was a safety harness. They weren't testing it every year to see what the date was on it. That's for sure, right?
Got that
right. So you were actually out there when you say ironworkers, you were actually up on the buildings, building some fence, kind of doing it all?
Doing a little bit of it all. The company I work for a woman-owned company for about 20 years. And we did a lot of everything. We did a lot of schoolwork, and which got us into a little bit of everything. So through the years, I've done it all, including, rolling shutter doors. You did a little fence, did a lot of glass, curtain wall. We're really one of our big things here in 63. We do a lot of glass and metal. And we did, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Chicago, but the Cloud Gate, the beam, we did that, all that stainless steel and all that. That's Ironworkers Local 63 did that.
Hey, so what, for people that aren't in the union, and it's kind of a mystery. Obviously, you got people that say, I love the unions. People say, I hate the unions. It's like, of course, nobody even really knows why. We just it's like almost like you grow up one party or the other, right? So what do all these numbers mean? We see these like local 63, local 55. What is the number? I mean, how do they come up with those numbers?
Well, the number is what you receive when you go into existence. So we were chartered in 1903. And we were the 63rd union to join the federation known as the Ironworkers Bridge Structural and Ornamental. Oh. We were given the 63rd charter out of everyone in the country. So
that's interesting. So some of the higher numbers. So the lower the number, the older the union is, basically.
The lower the number, the older it is. And Chicago actually shared with Local 1, who got the original number. Those are the structural guys who do the structural part, and we're architectural ornamental, one of only 2 locals in the country. That distinction is us in New York. And so which gave us a better advantage from a lot of other people is we are very good at what we do, because we are very detail orientated. We do a lot of layout, which is important, especially in fence and curtain wall and all these other things. So we do a lot of math and a lot of fence in our school. So we learn a lot of stuff there, which is important.
So you're out of Chicago. God, that's weird. I never heard of unions in Chicago.
Yeah. Yes. The Windy City hits.
I think there's a few of them. So you guys know a few things about unions down there.
It's we do a good job of bringing people in and then working with our politicians to make sure that everybody gets a proper wage and benefit, and make sure everything works right. It's important for everybody to play on a level playing field.
Yeah, and I think what's people watching or listening should know is why it's so important to have you specifically on here, regarding, especially we do a lot in this fence industry. I know it's a trade industry podcast, but it's a really heavy on fence and gate and things like that. So what do you bring differently? You particularly, you really kind of, I want to almost say pioneered a lot of stuff when it came to figuring out good systems on how you can bring people in the union on the fence side of it and keep them on the fence side of it.
100%. So what before I got here, we actually had a separate category altogether for fence. And we kind of grew it, once I got in here. The first thing I did my first week on the job was hire a fence organizer and who spoke Spanish. Yeah. And I was able to, because I knew 2 things. I wasn't an expert at fence yet, and I didn't speak Spanish. So I needed help on both aspects. And he was the perfect guy for that. He was teaching in school, teaching fence. And I gave him an opportunity to be an organizer. And that guy really took off. He's probably brought in about 20 contractors since I put him on, and has really brought in a bunch of new members and speaking to a lot of people. He's done a great job for us, and it also helps politically when you have to go to the Hispanic politicians. You have someone who's Hispanic who can talk to them.
Yeah,
it helps in a lot of different avenues.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit to reach out. Also, we got FWA Espanol, and we're working on our very first, pretty much almost all Spanish class that's going to be happening in Florida next month or this month. What is it? It's actually July already. Isn't that crazy, huh?
Yeah, time's flying, ain't
it? So, what's the union life like? I mean, what's it like for say one of our fence companies or one of the fencers join the union? Tell me how that is. Well, what's that life like for him? I mean, does he get up every day at same 5 a.m. and head out to a job site and work? And he's got that one boss. I mean, what exactly is it like for a fence company or a fence guy to work to be part of the union?
The good thing for us, I should say for everybody, is being part of the union is I have 300 men and women in this local who just do fence. They're fencers, and we've got probably closer to 40 contractors now who just do fence. And the good thing for them is when they get slow, they can send the people back to us. And when they get busy, we got people to send to them. So it keeps the workflow going. You don't have to retrain people when you get fat and when you get busy. We've got the people for you. When you're slow, we'll take the people from you and move them to someone else. And it makes it easier to run a company. As someone who ran a company for years I ran a smaller company, which is always tough keeping people because you get real busy. You need 20 guys for 2 months. And then next thing you know, you need 5. Yeah. And then you're like that for a while, then you need 20 again. Well, if you're doing that as a regular business without the union, trying to train and recruit those kind of people it's an astronomical feat that you're never going to get on top of. You're always going to be behind the 8 ball trying to train them. Yeah. And with us not only do we take care of that problem for you, you also take care of their health care and their pension and everything else. So you don't have to worry about the 401k, the health care, or any of those other things. And when you need a kid, excuse me, we have them. I can get you a young person. You're doing a federal job. You need someone with a certain zip code. I can get that for you. I can find it. I can get it, and I can make sure you have it. And that's the good thing about when you're with a union or as a contractor. I apologize. Is that you always have someone who's looking out for your best interest? Because if you ain't making money, I'm not making money, and I like to make money. And that's how I look at all this. Is I'm a CEO of a multi-million-dollar business, and my partners, the contractors, need to make money in order for me to make money.
Yeah.
So it works hand in hand. And it's a really great feeling. And when we negotiated our last fence contract, which was 3 months ago, we did it in 2 hours, and we did a 5-year deal because of the relationship that we have.
Right. They
know I have their best interest at heart, and they know I'm trying to supply them with the best iron workers I can.
So what's a contract? I mean, for people that aren't in the union, that don't live this life, a lot of the terms, a lot of the stuff, we hear it, right? But
right.
when you say you negotiated a contract in 2 hours, what does that mean? What does that mean for the industry?
So now you're not dealing with each individual person. So like if you're running a company and you have 20 people, you got to negotiate with 20 different people. This is your raise. This is this. We negotiate on behalf of the whole fence industry. And we set the standard for the fence industry for prevailing wage in the state of Illinois. So that when we're negotiating our contract, we're not negotiating over our nickels and dimes for healthcare and all that kind of stuff. I'm just negotiating a raise. The union decides where it goes and where it needs the most help. So if we need help on we got a $2.75 raise this time around. Some of that money is going to go into the healthcare. Some of it's going to go into their pension, and they got $1.15 on their check.
Yeah.
And so this way we were able to take care of their benefits, take care of all that stuff for the members. And then also the contractors now have a 5-year deal in place where they know they're not going to have a sit down, not going to have guys walking off, complaining about what they make or anything else like that. It's all under control. Everything's under control for them. And they have an avenue where they can call the union to make sure that, hey, I have a problem with this guy. Well, we can take care of that for them. So everything has a purpose when you're with the union. And the myth that we're going to shove people down your throats and make you take people is long gone. I haven't done that to a contractor since I got this chair in 2018. I haven't forced anybody down anybody's throat.
Yeah.
This is a business, and I expect to get return business. You got to get them good people, because if you give them shit people, you're not going to get them back. And it's tough to work with people when you don't have a relationship like that. So
yeah. So it's a different mindset. So you're saying that if a company became unionized and they were to call you and say they need 20 people for 2-3 months, that, or even if somebody works for you for a long time, they're not going to be coming back because you got a 5-year agreement. They're not going to come back and say, I've been here a year, I deserve a raise.
Yep. They
The
don't,
conversation never
everything
comes up.
it may, but you have a contract and you tell them you have a collective bargaining agreement. This is what it is. The foreman get $1 extra, or it's actually, what is it, 250 over scale. So your foreman is getting 250 over what everybody else in the gang is getting. So that's already spelled out. Everything is spelled out. There's no, when your breaks are, when everything is spelled out, so there's no confusion for anybody. So
Yeah.
Contractor signs, he knows what the deal is. There's no secrets. It's all transparent. And when a member signs, he's given the same book of rules that the contractors get. These are the rules that we all work with. So everybody's on the same level playing field. No one has an advantage over anybody except for your overhead. That's your advantage. If you, depending on how you run your own business, what gives you the advantage. It has nothing to do with your labor force.
That's interesting. So it's almost creating a culture for you without the effort of you having to go through and create the actual culture. But in like a lot of trades, there's, depending on where you're at in the country, unless you're in the Sun Belt, you're shutting down sometimes for 2-3 months out of the year. And it's always that awkwardness for people. I hear it from people all the time. I got these great employees. Now here comes the winter time and they need the money the most. And holidays are here and you've got to like lay them off and let them go on unemployment and stuff like that. So there's no awkwardness at all. You just tell the guys, I don't need you for 2 months.
That's how it works. And surprisingly, believe it or not, even in this frozen freaking state I live in, we tend to work year round. Even the fence guys, they'll get slow maybe January, February a little bit. Yeah. They don't mind taking those months off because it's freezing outside anyway. And half of them are going down to either Florida or Mexico or somewhere else to get out of the cold. The other ones that are here, they seem to find work for them. There's always something to do. And, temporary fence, we do a lot of that. So on job sites and, so that always stays busy year round. And the only thing that takes a hit would be digging holes and pouring concrete. But as long as there's a certain temperature, which it seems to be warming up a little bit, it's not as cold as it was when I started for weeks on end and it'd be freezing forever. It ain't quite that bad here anymore. If it gets any warmer, people are going to start moving here.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Alaska and Idaho and stuff like that. My uncle's fence companies, they owned Anchorage Fence and stuff back then. So, I don't remember taking a lot of time off. We were out there shoveling the fence line, and as long as you could drive and plow it and shovel it, you were still working. In fact, I think we used to go back. I remember we'd go back in the springtime, and when the snow melted, and you'd find all kinds of stuff in the ground, right? Rolls of wire, pipe, pliers, tools.
For sure, yeah. That's what I meant.
All the tools you lost while you were building the fence.
There it is. I got you. Yeah,
there's that wheelbarrow. Right?
Yeah, you'll always find a day to pour, and then you could always stretch on any day, right? So that's never anything. It's just as long as you can find a day to pour, which you can always find. It doesn't take hold that long.
Yeah, we'd cover it up. Yeah. So I'm going to pull back up. We got Aaron here. And Aaron, by the way, you can reach out to me and I'll sync you up with Paul. But so Aaron had a question. How do I get, how does he get into the union? And is it available in Central Florida? So is it you're from Chicago, but I know you have contacts everywhere. Yeah,
I have contacts throughout the country. So yeah, if Aaron, if you want to give out my information at the end, Brian, we can do that. And they can contact me and we'll get them a hold of the people that they can help them. We got ironworkers all over the time. We do have friends who is business manager out in Orlando, who's a good friend of mine, and he's got some good people down there, and then we can help whoever this person was, Aaron, we can help him out.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So then you kind of hit it up a little bit earlier. Let's talk about some union myths.
Sure, let's get into it.
Everybody's got a union story. I've got one. People listening, you've got a couple. And after we hear it enough times, it becomes reality, right? In our head.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I got the moniker Chi-Town Gotti to begin with, so we're not mobbed up, just for the record, and I'm not Italian. So if that's your first question.
So I'm not being coerced to have him on, by the way. I'm going to be able to make it out of here safe and sound.
I didn't send the leg breakers to go see you, Brian. No, that did not happen.
So what about the unions are for the older generation? Let's talk about that for a second, because the new generation and stuff, is it still a good fit for that? Have you know what I mean? Have you done something? The workers now are different than they were 30 years ago.
Oh, 100%. But I think they also get a bad rap on some of these young people, because I think the ones that we've gotten through and that have come through our program are phenomenal young people who are excited to work, excited to make a decent living, and they've been that college route. They've seen what that's like, and there's no jobs. The jobs are here, and when you can train and get paid, there's nothing better. You're
Yeah.
going to school and getting paid at the same time. And yeah, the older generations had their thing, but that was a whole different thing.
Yep.
Now it's different. It's more streamlined. I have an app on my phone that my members get information. We've updated everything. We've changed the whole philosophy of how we operate. The good old boy club is gone. We open the doors for everybody. It's very diverse. Like I said, I've got a Hispanic organizer. My political director is an African American gentleman. It's not the good old boy club it used to be. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a new atmosphere. We're not the cowboys in the sky. We're not the drunks. We're not the drug addicts. We're not that anymore. We drug screen. We make sure we check. We have good people in there, and we train them, and we train them, and we train them. And that's, so we make sure that these kids are ready to go. And like I said, I don't have no problem. Without exaggeration, I get over 400 plus people applying every 2 years.
Yeah.
So they want to be here. I just need more work to put them there.
Yeah.
So the more contractors I bring in, the more people I can bring in who want to work, and it helps everybody.
So there you have it. If you're looking for some workers, sound like Paul has them.
Yeah. Go to work. Let's go to work.
And I think you're right, because you were saying that the new generation, obviously they want to work, and I think the difference is they're craving the education and the training now, and it's different than when I was building fence. I mean, back when you couldn't have told us to go do a training class. Like, I've been building fence long. I know how to step posts. I know how to dig holes. I'm not doing anything. But now they want to learn, and they want the skills. They want the OSHA cards. They want to learn how to do gate operators and learn. I mean, they want to make more money, and they know they're not going to make more money if they don't learn something new. So, and I think that's something that the unions do probably better than even us associations and things like that. Is you guys give them a path, right?
Oh, 100%. And then there's buy-in by the members and the contractors, because we pay into it. On the fence side, we're paying right now. It's $1 an hour for every hour worked goes into the training fund. And on the building side, it's at $2.25 right now. And the fence side, I'm upping because we're doing a lot more things now with fence than we used to. I bought an $80,000 Bobcat. We're hogging our own holes out back. We're doing all these things, stretching cable. We're doing all these things. We got the razor wire. We got, so we've upped our training. So we're upping the money we're putting into the training, which the contractors love, because now that's coming off. It's not coming off the wage. So they're not paying the payroll tax. So now it's coming up on the benefit side. So no one's paying the tax on that. And it's not coming off the member's wage. So it's a win-win across the board for that. So you're getting a better educated person who's into it, who wants to be here.
Yeah.
We didn't force anybody to do anything, so when they're here, they want to be here, they want to learn, and they want to be the best they can be. And as I told my instructors, is I want this place to be the West Point of training schools. And I want to pump out foremen, superintendents. I can organize workers all day long. I can find non-union people, bring them into the fold. But this school is meant to create the thinkers, the doers, and we can get, like I said, we can organize the workers all day long, and I can get them, and that's easy to do. It's creating the future foreman, which people like you who run a company know the problems with that is if you don't keep those guys busy, they're workers and they're intelligent. They're going to go find something else to do.
Yeah.
So the key is if we get them all trained that way, now you have a whole group of them who have the ability to do those things.
Yeah. And I think I've told you my story before, about I was really fascinated with the union, and even like bidding some union projects and stuff, but and you're really pushing hard for this. Even the unions, they really didn't on the ironworker side. They didn't do a good enough job training people on the fencing. So it was really hard, and it wasn't a big benefit for the fence companies to sign up, because you didn't have anybody building fence, right? And you couldn't send me 20 guys that knew how to build fence. And now I'm seeing a shift. I'm seeing that you guys are connecting and training, and you're not just training them how to weld and go up on buildings and do structural welding, because there's a big difference between, you get guys over there. Oh, I went to, I'm certified for welding. I've been welding my whole life on these, buildings and well, there's a big difference between welding some 16 gauge tubing, right? And 100%. Welding a fence together than welding 1/4 inch thick steel on a building or whatever, right? So
there's a lot of things you have to get over, and we've learned that here, along with the curtain wall. You got ironworkers with their spud wrenches on, want to go bang and weld. Well, when you're touching glass, you can't do that. You got to be more precise, more careful. It's a different mindset. So with that different mindset, you had to learn to do different things. And the same thing with the fence. It's a different mindset, and they also had to adjust their wages. That was the biggest part for us is, you can't charge building rates for putting in fence. It just doesn't work. It's not the market. So what we've learned here is we adjusted to the market. We created our own rule book and our own pay scale for the fence and the way the apprenticeship works and how it all works is because it isn't one size fits all. You have to adjust to the market. The market dictates everything, as you know, as a business owner. The market will tell you what everything's worth.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to see if you're at your eyes open, you can see how the market plays and what plays and what doesn't play.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like to hear that you said you're doing more training. You got the Bobcat, you're out there digging holes because, the stigma was also a little bit, nearly just myths and stuff, it was obviously, but was ironworkers like, well, I do the fence, but I don't dig holes. And I'm like, well, you're not a fence builder. I mean, I hate to break it to you. If you're not gonna be in the fence business if you ever dig a hole, right? So changing that mindset as well and saying, hey, if you want to work, this is the job, and part of that job is setting the posts, right?
You set the post. You got to dig that dirt. You got to. Not everything's got an auger. Some of them you're post hole digging, and you got to do what you got to do. And that's what I tell the apprentices when I give my first speech is I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't do, but unfortunately for everybody, for this kind of money, I'd shovel shit all day long. I wouldn't care.
Not me too.
I want to make some money, and if you're going to want to make the money, you got to do the work that goes with it. You can't just pick and choose what you want to do. It doesn't work that way.
So is it true they draw a circle in the ground, and if there's more than 3 drops of water in there, everybody goes home?
Number 74. Yeah, that doesn't work for us here in Local 63. No, we go to work.
So, union dues. I mean, they're a waste of money. You hear the first thing people like to say, I'm not going to join this. Union dues is a waste of money. And tell me what about, I mean, obviously I'm sure the union dues, like you were saying, some of it goes to training, some goes to healthcare, retirement, things like that. What are the dues?
Let's go through that. So as far as union dues go, our members only pay $32.50 a month for union dues. It's what is that? 3 Starbucks coffees to be a member of the union, and all that money goes to the international to run the international. The local gets its money through the working assessment, so that's where the member pays out of his wage. They'll pay it's 3.75%. So he pays that. That's to pay the salaries for the agents, the organizers, the buildings, and all that other good stuff. So that all comes out of that. The union dues itself, we get nothing from the local union. That all goes to the international. Big brother, as we like to say, to run the flagship. So, but as far as for the, and I saw someone ticked across there, is, what unions are about, strikes and all that other kind of stuff, another myth, another thing. So we can get into that one down the road. But as far as the dues go, the dues aren't what they are. They're $32.50 a month. And that's just like I said, that goes to the international. And then the assessment is what that is. And that covers everything to make sure that you have everything you need for your lives. I take care of your health care. I take care of your pension. I take care of your training. All that stuff costs. So that's where that cost comes out.
Yeah. So, and I kind of want
to. And for the members, if it wasn't for investments, I'd be losing money every time, because if it wasn't for the investments, there's no way I could keep up with the way things are going.
So how does that work? Somebody on the installer side or joins the union, not the company wise, does it. So say I joined the union I worked for Las Vegas Fence and I wanted to join a union and go work on union jobs. So I pay a certain amount to join, right? And then you guys send me to do some training.
You pay $0 to join.
$0 to join. Okay. And then how does the training start? Am I able to just start going and working, or is there a certain amount of training that has to happen before I'm allowed to go actually work?
All I make sure to be a signatory contractor with Local 63 is you have to have a license to operate in the state that we're in, which is Illinois. You have to have workers' compensation insurance to make sure that if someone gets hurt, they're covered. And you need to sign the contract. That's it.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the actual workers. So they join.
Well, it depends, and that depends. Like, say, someone like you joins, and you already have a workforce, and you want to join with me. So I would talk to you and say, which one of these workers do you want to be journeyman? Mm-hmm. Which ones do you want to go through the apprenticeship? And you and I would work that out together.
Okay.
And however you felt, whichever were your lead dogs, you want to take care of them. Whichever ones were the lessers, I'd break the bad news to them that you're going into the apprenticeship program, champ. Sorry, you need some help. And then we could slot them into different years too. If they're really green, we put them in the first year. If they got some experience, we could put them in the second year. And if they're a little bit better, we can put them in the third year. So there's different ways we can do it. And we always work with the contractor to see what they want to do and how they want to do it to make sure it's an easy move. And then if you need help, I have the workers to give you, but if you have your own, I would happily take them too.
So you could, I mean, you can essentially, you could go union on your company and have a whole new set of workers the next week.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you needed to ramp up, you guys help them ramp up pretty quickly, because that's a huge problem when you're outbidding stuff. So how do you think that affects? Honestly, the wages are getting pretty close. I mean, my guys are making almost union wages on the private side. So being that that's leveled out a little bit, does that mean as a union company you can still go out and bid a normal job? It doesn't have to be a union job, right?
No, our guys go. You'd be surprised at what some of our fence contractors can pull off, and
right.
And because we've gotten really good at putting the fence in, we're actually can be competitive with the non-union rates. And let's not kid ourselves. The non-union knows exactly what the union's making. It's posted everywhere. It is not hidden. We are the most watched organization there is in this country is the unions. So everything I do and say, you can even look up what I make. Everything is out there that is out there. There's nothing that isn't transparent that you can't see and that if you wanted to look for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. I definitely want to hear more. If anybody wants to hear more about this and actually talk about your business, maybe becoming union or talking to the union about joining it, they will be in Las Vegas, October 1st to the 3rd. You'll be able to come walk around and come. Paul, you'll be there as well, right?
I'll be the handsome devil at the booth.
Right. Come up, say hi, tell him you saw, you saw him on the show and you want to talk and learn more about that. So and here's another one. Unions are anti-business. That's, I mean, we hear that sometimes, right? And of course, you kind of tapped on this earlier, about how if the business aren't making money, you're not making money. Tell me how that came about, or why some people say that.
And for good reason. Back in the day, that did happen, and they were more, and not that I'm not, I'm still membership driven, but I understand how business works. And back in the day, when you had 90% union density, you were able to inflict your will on others and get away with what you want.
Yeah.
Well, that's not like that anymore. And the endless possibilities for someone who is not a signatory contractor is unlimited. So the only way you're going to get them in the fold is to make it user friendly and to be a partner with them.
Yeah.
And my first speech to the members when I took over in October of 2018 was, we are not going to run it the way it used to be. I am the CEO of a business, and we're going to run it like a business. I had people putting together resumes. I had people doing all kinds of things. What the hell am I doing a resume for? I go, wouldn't you want someone to know what you're capable of? Isn't that a great thing? Brag about it. You should. You ran these jobs. You did this. I think a contractor would love to see that. See how ambitious you are and what you want to do with yourself. All those things are important. And nothing could be further from the truth here at Local 63. And like I told you earlier, is we did our contract in a couple hours for the fence side. And the building side took, I want to say, like 3 or 4 hours to knock out a 3-year contract. It's because I've become really user-friendly with the contractors. They know the members need a good raise. They want to keep me there because I'm business-friendly. So they know that I have to make sure the members are taken care of, or else I'm out. Because I have to get elected every 3 years. So one way or another, it has to work for all of us. So they know, and I talked to them ahead of time. I said, you know what I need? I need to get here. How close can you get me without killing you?
Yeah.
And if you need a little break in the first year, I can give you a little break in the first year. You get me on the back end. We can work it any kind of way you want to make it work for all of us. And that's how we kind of approach all this stuff. It's like a negotiation should be, right? No one leaves the room mad. No one gets everything they want. That's when it's a good negotiation.
Yeah,
but everybody a little less satisfied than they were, but you're okay with. I can live with this.
I can live, right. We're all gonna survive. Right?
We're gonna be okay, and no one's mad, and we have a beer at the end, and everybody's happy, and it goes well. So, and like I said, I get that, and I understand why people feel that way, but I can assure you from the ironworker side that we've gone a long way to kind of change that whole image and the way that has gone through, because it doesn't get any of us anywhere.
No.
And I learned that when I was an agent too. I'd go out there huffing and puffing when I come across a non-signatory contractor, but it got me nowhere. When I became nicer and I talk to people, then they open up and then we have a real conversation. I see what their needs are. And when I talk to any non-signatory now, the first thing out of my mouth is, I know how I can help you make money.
Yeah.
Now they want to listen to me.
Yeah.
Not that you have to have me. You need this. No. I can help make you money. You want to know how? Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
And then we have a conversation of the things I can do to help them. and what I can do and what I can't do. So I am limited to some things, but some things I can really go above and beyond to help you out, especially on, as you know, with these federal jobs and all these other things, is we give you a great advantage on that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting approach, because I guess the days of, oh, here comes Paul, man, lock the doors, get all the guys out the back. Don't let him talk to nobody. Don't let him talk to nobody. Right?
Yeah.
Get out of here, because it was like
there.
that. It did feel like that. I mean, I've been doing it for a while,
and it was.
Yeah,
and it was.
And they would come out here, just it felt like they were just like, 2 or 3 big guys would come to your office, and they were almost intimidated, try to intimidate. And that's what maybe that's like an impression everybody got out of it. So it is good to see that it's softened up a little bit, because and you're right, if you start to work with people a little bit more, and now you're not talking about just costing them money but helping them make money, that's a whole nother ball game, right? So
that's a whole ball game.
So if you sent somebody, like, say we were a union company, and you sent somebody five people to go start a project, right? And one of them was not showing up on time, or seemed like he's been drinking, or stuff like this. Is that something you still? And I know it sounds like you guys are almost like a little bit on the HR side, to where you could call up like you or the rep and say, hey, I got this guy, it's just not working out, and then you guys help break the news to him, or is it something we just let him go? How's that work?
You just cut him loose and give him back to us, and then we have a conversation with him. Why were you let go? Maybe we can work on a few things, and if not, then we put him on the naughty list. And after a couple contractors have gone through him, then we know not to send that person out anymore.
Okay.
And you guys kind of dictate to us who's the worker and who's not, because I could train him all day long, but until you put the tool belt on and go to work, then we find out who the workers are.
Can we have favorite people? I'm just curious about that.
Of course. Of course. I have favorites. Man, everybody has favorites. When I ran work, I had people I'd call all the time. Yeah. I knew that there were workers, and then I knew that when I get a phone call, and when it was really busy, and I knew when I got somebody, I was like, oh, he's going to be the first one I let go, because he's not that good. So as soon as I had an opportunity, he was gone.
Yeah.
And I had that moniker for a while. I was the angel of death. I laid everybody off. So when they knew when they came to my job, they were in trouble.
It's rough. I mean, it's the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do for us, because we, in our industry, we're really focused a lot on culture as well, and building the culture, and making them part of the family and part of the team. And we know we don't. It's a real big push to not call them employees and all this stuff. And then that gets tough is when you got to let someone go, because if you get so close to them like they are family, and you do all this, it's rough. But I think that you guys it sounds like you guys help them kind of remind them that it's a business. And you want the employees to make money, the business to make money, and of course, in the end, you guys will end up making some money doing the same thing with us.
And then and we do have a lot of different avenues to help them too. So if you did have a drinking problem, on my app, I have a phone number that they can just hit, and it gets them into resources that are in network that will help them out with their either mental crisis, family crisis, marriage counselor, all that kind of stuff. I have on a push button on an app that I can also, with a push button, turn it into Spanish. So we're able to help our members and help the contractors in the same route as I'm getting these people the mental health. I'm taking care of them. Up my loss of time benefits. So now when they get hurt at home, they're not limping to a job and pretending like they got hurt on a job, because I'm paying them $1,000 a week to sit at home because they got hurt at home, so that they're not comping the contractors.
Yeah.
And that's really changed the culture around here too. Like, you'd be surprised how much money I spend on that, but the contractors appreciate it, because now they're not getting bogus comp claims and stuff like that on them, because we're taking care of our own members. When they're sick, I can take care of them now, because I have this benefit that I can give them, which we all pay into through the healthcare. And I also, for our contractors, I open it up that their office staff can join our healthcare. So that helps them out even more. And the contractors freaked out when I did that. Like, you do that for us? I thought I said we were partners. We're partners. I'm opening it up to you guys too. And I've had about 15 contractors take me up on it already that have joined our healthcare with their office staff.
I love that. Yeah, I'm a big promoter of our industry getting more healthcare. I mean, we started FWA Health at our end for the association side of it. Obviously it's not tied into the union stuff, but we've got now hundreds of people that have health insurance in our industry that didn't have it before. And I think that changes, like what you guys are doing. It changes the quality of your employees too, because now they start maintaining their health. And they're more likely, instead of being gone for, 4 or 5 days, they're out for a day or two because they can get their antibiotics or get something, and they're back to work sooner, and they're getting their checkups. And maybe, you know what I mean? There wasn't like a month of them not feeling good before they did get sick. Right. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So I know this is changing, right? about going straight into the union versus college, or people that are, are you seeing a push or even any kind of a lot more people that already went to college coming into the unions? Has it changed from when you first got into this?
Oh, it's funny how things have changed, and I can give you a lot of examples, and I've seen it firsthand from here in Chicago. Is they pushed us out of the schools. I want to say it was in the mid '90s. We got pushed out of all the high schools.
Yeah,
and they wanted everybody to go to college. They were getting points for people to go to college. They were getting all their money was coming from people going to college and stuff like that. And then we noticed within the last 5 years that with us knocking on doors and approaching them is we've been invited to a lot more schools now. They're opening their doors to us because I think they're finally realizing that this is an opportunity for people, especially less fortunate people who don't have the proper education, to get a career where they can actually make real money, have some pride in what they're doing, and have health care for their families. It used to be that way that you could, it was union, or college. Well, I'm telling you right now, my last class on the building side, I had at least 5 or 6 people with college degrees could not find work in the field that they took college and got their degrees in. And so they're here doing iron work, and they spent $200,000 in the process, and they're in the same place as an 18-year-old kid who just came out of high school.
Yeah,
with no debt and no nothing, and is getting paid to go to work. And it's crazy. It's just unbelievable to me. And it's some people. Hey, you got to find yourself, and some people come later. Some people figure it out earlier. I don't judge anybody on that. Whatever your thing is, your thing is. At least you tried it. I told my kid to try it. My son's in high school and in college now. I said he always wanted to be an ironworker. His kid. I go, just try it. That way you won't have to look back and go, I should have at least tried it for a year. So at least try it and see how you like it. And this will be here. We've been here since 1903. We're not going anywhere.
I think the ironworkers is a pretty strong union.
We're not going anywhere. We'll be here for a while.
But I am happy to see that they're, that they are starting to train and they're starting to recognize, because I think there's a big push in our industry to validate the fencing industry. It's not a handyman trade by any means. And sometimes
hardest working people in the business. I'm going to be honest with you. They're hard. They work harder than our building guys.
They're tired when they leave here.
Those fence guys bust their ass. No, they work. They work.
So I think it's good because I think for sometimes people think that if you want to validate an industry, it's all done through policy. And that part is just frustrating for me. And I'm like, no, you could create as many rules, laws, regulations as you want. It doesn't make an industry more valid, or it doesn't make it a stronger. But stuff like this, training, and actually, and when the unions start recognizing it, that also helps, right? And starts realizing that it's not something that, because I think a lot of it went over to the labor's union as well. And now it's nice to see the ironworkers, although they could, in the beginning, they were the ones that should have been doing it. They just weren't, they had nobody to do it. And it was going over into other trades. So I love to see that we're claiming our industry, right?
Right on, 100%. It's been since the beginning. Iron fences have been around since the beginning. So it's nothing new to us. And Ameristar fence is really going crazy around here. Holy cow, are they throwing that stuff around here? But, it's part of the industry. And I think the ironworkers are embracing it, especially because when I go around talking and give my speeches, when I tell them how many man hours I pull in just fence alone, they're like, holy cow, are you kidding, man? Like, we hit it hard, man. We ain't playing around. I want it all. I want all the fence. Yeah. I want everybody to be a part of it. I want everybody to win, and everybody wins when everybody's a part of it. So
that's awesome. So to kind of wrap it up, how would people get a hold of you? Obviously, they can come see you at the Fence Show. So that's your first place you should go. Come to the Fence Show in Las Vegas. Go to fenceshow.com, get your passes, come and see them in person, and actually sit down and have a 20-minute conversation. And I think you told me a story. Somebody walked up and said, hey, can I have a few minutes of your time? And by the time they were done, they were at your booth for 20, 30 minutes, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was anti-union as they get, too. And he goes, you got 3 minutes. I said, that's all us. And he looked out at his watch. He goes, you got me. I was like, hey, I told you what you wanted to hear, right? He goes, yes, you did. I was like, all right.
So how else can they get a hold of you or the unions? Is there a safe address you could put out here for everybody to get a hold of, or a website?
Yeah, well, you can look at our website, which is www.iwlocal63.com. And then feel free, if you want to email us at info@iwlocal63.com. And we can get you whatever you need. And whether it's training, whether you want to be a member, whether you want to be a contractor, and no matter where you are in this country, If you contact us, I'll get you into the place to the right people who can have that conversation with you.
There we
And
go.
just because you're not in the Chicagoland area doesn't mean you can't be a signatory contractor with me and go and work somewhere else.
Okay.
So if you wanted 63 to be your home base because you like how great we are, then that'd be fantastic. And we'd be your home base. And I've done that for a few people. There's a couple people who probably have never been in Chicago, but they're a local 63 contractor just because they like what we're doing and they want to be a part of what we are. And I don't mind doing that either.
That's interesting. So if you're in an area where there's another one, you can actually kind of get, you can bounce around the country and do projects all over the country and be
100%.
a member of one local and be working in another. It's all part of the one big brotherhood, you want to call it, right?
That's why you pay into the big brother of the mothership. We're all part of the same thing. And Canada's part of us too. So we have all of Canada and all of the, United States. So we're all over the place. And I met with the Hawaiian guys in California last week. So they're interested in fence and stuff too. So if you guys want to go throw some fence in Hawaii, which wouldn't be so bad.
Always between 60 and 80.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah. Break time would be okay on the ocean, I'm getting.
Yeah. Doesn't sound bad to me at all. It was 112 yesterday or something. So yeah, 60 to 80 doesn't sound bad at all. So we just dropped that information in the comments and then shared it up here for everybody that's watching. So does that information look correct to you?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Hey, you know what? We will see you in a few months, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon before that. But thank you for coming on. Any last minute things you want to send out there to everybody?
Yeah, I just want to say, try to have an open mind when you think about us moving forward. I think you'll find us a lot more user-friendly than we were in the past. And I believe that we have a superior workforce that we're ready to put out there for you guys. And like I said, I think it's a better atmosphere and it's easier for a contractor to have a workforce that can come and go as he needs them instead of trying to figure it out, because figuring it out on the run is no way to run a business.
Yeah.
And when someone can take care of your workforce, take care of the healthcare, take care of the pension, take care of all that stuff for you, you don't get any of those phone calls no more. I get them all. and I'm the one who takes the bullets. So you get you call Wendy. That's all you got to say.
Well, that was awesome. Well, hey, Paul, I think we did a pretty good job on this interview. Can you call and have them release my wife and kids from the van out front now?
Yeah, I'll be happy to.
Thanks again, man. I'm excited about seeing you guys. All right, everybody that watched this live, thank you. And thank you for the comments. And if you're listening to this later on, drop some comments and we'll try to reply back to those as well. Thank you, everybody, and have a good evening. Thanks, Paul.
Appreciate you, Brian. Thank you, sir.